Happy Friday, and congratulations for making it through the entire week with us here at the Rocketeer Minute, where each and every day, Monday through Friday, we go over 1 minute of the greatest adventure movie Walt Disney ever made, the 1991 Joe Johnston-directed feature, The Rocketeer. I'm one of your hosts, Jim O'Kane of TVDads.com.
And I'm Hal Bryan, the airplane nerd from Oshkosh, Wisconsin, here at the Experimental Aircraft Association. So, Jim, again, lightning apparently strikes at least twice because we're really, really lucky to have a special guest back with us once more, Mr. Billy Campbell. Welcome back, Billy.
Well, thank you. Thanks, Hal. Thanks, Jim.
It's so good to have you here. It's ridiculous.
It's good. It's good to be here. Good to be here in the Ethernet.
And we have you on this is minute 10, and it's one of the few minutes that you're not in this particular minute. But
so if you could just stay quiet while Jim and I talk through this, I think that's best for everybody. I think that's what the audience is looking for, right, Jim?
We've got things to do, but yeah, this is good. We've got we were talking about this is one of our end scenes of the outdoor. This is really the end of the first scene where we've had the crash and all that jazz, and Wooly and Fitch are wrapping up with Wilmer to find out, and there's so many great 1930s lines in this particular scene, where they're talking about Alcatraz being your next home and all that.
Oh yeah.
And your buddy's getting fitted for a pine overcoat.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just a fantastic script. I think some of these lines must have been Bill Dear's. I think he cranked out. This sounds like the way that he writes the scripts, but some of the stuff goes all the way back to Dave Stevens. I mean, when you read his original graphic novel, and by the way, if folks haven't read the novel, please go out and get a copy of the original comic books, because Dave Stevens really set the tone. Have to warn you in advance, it is not fun for the whole family. It's rather adult oriented. You do get a feel for the 1930s in it, and you also find out little things like the reason that Goose has the name Goose. I'm not sure if I should tell it on here, but it's great watching these three character actors just chewing up the scenery with kind of a standard scene, but it's perfect. Outside there, the classic movie name, The Good Hugh ambulance, which seems to be a common element in most. It's like dialing 555 in a Hollywood movie. Good.
That's right.
You go back to watch Emergency, The Rockford Files, Adam 12, all that stuff. You'll see Good Hugh ambulances everywhere.
It's like a running joke.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, it's the Wilhelm scream of ambulances, I guess. I don't know. I don't know if that makes any sense.
And we get a great view of what's supposed to be the Cirrus X3, but as we
know from the vacuum cleaner minute.
Yeah, that's upcoming, so we can't.
Thanks to you, boys.
Yeah. Oh, spoiler alert!
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, but it's a great scene, and just things like tossing the nickel in the air, and all these other things that are coming out of it, and just all those wrecked auto parts. You just want to go in the back. Go, please don't hurt those cars.
Yeah.
But a great scene, and this is. Just the opening of the movie, this really, it gets you in. You're wondering what's going on, all these mysterious things happening.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, there's this great shift. Somebody who's not a filmmaker, but is just as fascinated by the process. I love looking at things like the color palettes, how all of these scenes at the airport, everything is so warm, and Billy, your wardrobe, it's classic aviator, of course, the leather jacket, the tan pants, the brown boots, all this stuff, very, very warm color palette. And then, of course, not to jump too far ahead, Jim, but right at the end of this minute, we switch to the interior of this Hughes aircraft hangar. Everything's very blue. It's very soft. It's much, much cooler and cleaner and crisper, and it's such a great contrast.
Mm.
Yeah, and kind of a Spartan look.
Right.
Now, Billy, did you ever get out to the second hangar that we're seeing in here? I don't know if you saw any of those shots being filmed.
You mean are we still in Santa Maria?
No, we're actually moved to Long Beach. Well, actually, it would.
Oh, yes. Yes, I was down there. Down there. Remember, I go later in the film. I go jumping off a table with the.
Yeah, that's right. Of course you did. Yeah.
Yeah. We were in Santa Ana, I think. No, sorry, not Santa Ana. Where is it? The big port, which is just
well, let's see. There's Long Beach. There's San Pedro.
San Pedro.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. And by the way, we're going to get to that minute in the future, and hopefully you'll be on that particular episode. But did you get to do the jump with the Hercules, the Spruce Goose?
I did.
Wow.
Yeah.
That was
that's me. They really let me do a lot of my own stunt work.
Wow.
So it was it all went pretty well. We had I had to sort of prove myself, but once I had, then Jim Arnett, who was the stunt coordinator, said, "You know what? I think you're up for this." And so they started sticking me in a lot more stuff, which is of course always preferable, because then they can come right in close with the camera, and it's just obvious that the person's doing the things instead of a stunt double.
Yeah, I would imagine the underwriters would be chewing their nails watching this going on with I don't know how far that was a pretty far drop. I'm assuming that they had mattresses and stuff underneath, but it just.
I think I'm pretty sure that I would have had a little safety cable running up my arm.
Yeah.
For the first part of that, and then cut away, and then cut to me hopping off the thing. So they restarted it only a few feet off the ground. So that I could hop off without the safety cable. But I was young, and I was like, "Nah, I'll do the whole thing," and blah blah blah. And they were like, "Okay, idiot, just
yes. Here's a rocket. Strap it to your back. Let's see what happens."
They probably had Johnny Depp online too. It's like, just in case this doesn't work out, we can reshoot it.
Yeah.
I feel like we've established a running gag where Johnny Depp will be the official enemy of the show. I'm not really sure why that is.
No, he was a friend. He actually got Billy in, so it's okay.
Well, that's true. He was a friend, but.
Wow. This is kind of askew from the Rocketeer, but I know that you were originally going to play Commander Riker on Star Trek, and although it's unfortunate that you didn't have that role, I'm sort of glad that this opened you up for being able to do the Rocketeer, because I can't picture Jonathan Frakes doing these kind of this kind of part. I don't think he'd fit in the GB for one thing, but
I was thrilled actually that I was disappointed when the Star Trek thing happened, but I have to admit I also had cold feet, and I frankly the best man got the job, and he was fantastic on Star Trek, and if I had got it, I wouldn't have. I don't think I would have done Rocketeer. So
it all worked out apparently. Yeah, so
happens for a reason. And you went on and did an episode of Next Generation as Captain O'Connor.
In fact. Yeah, I think Junie Lowry. I was the casting director, and she is a longtime friend and was one of my major sort of champions when I first got to, the whole time I've been in Hollywood. And I felt really, really bad because I kind of embarrassed her. I got to that final read through in front of all of the executives and everything. And Jonathan was there as well. It was just me and him. And I went in the room, and I just was a block of wood. I was so petrified, and I just was horrible, and I embarrassed Junie, and it was a long time before I could bring myself to talk to her again. And I finally called to apologize, and she said, "Oh, honey," she's got this wonderful mellifluous Southern accent. She said, "Oh, honey, it's fine. It all worked out." And I said, "Well, does that mean I could do an episode?" She said, "You want to do an episode?" I said, "Well, yeah, it's Star Trek." So she made it happen, and it was wonderful. And
you got to play Johnny Depp. I mean, that was like the Pirates of the Caribbean episode.
I'd say maybe half Johnny Depp, half Han Solo. I don't know, a little bit of.
I'll never. If I could erase that performance, I would. I'll never live it down. It was some of the worst dialogue, and I did the worst job in delivering it. It just was horrible, and I would, as I say, I would nuke it if I could. But
you're on the Enterprise, so there you go.
Yeah. Got to be part of the Star Trek universe, which was all that mattered to me.
That's amazing.
Wow.
Now, you started pretty early on. You were on a show called The Rookies with, if I count this right, you were on that show with my fourth celebrity crush. As I was discovering what girls were about. So number 4, sequentially for me, was Kate Jackson.
Yeah,
So,
but
Charlie's Angels.
Except you got that off of IMDb.
I did get that off of IMDb. Is that not correct?
I was never on The Rookies. That was, you know who that was? That was William Campbell.
Are you serious?
Yeah, that was William Campbell, who, if you saw a photo of him, you'd know who he was right away. He was pretty big, I think, in the 40s and 50s. And
he was also on Star Trek. He was a Klingon in Trouble with Tribbles.
Okay, there we go.
So that was.
Yeah,
and that was William Campbell, and that
was the other Campbell, and they've got that completely wrong. Well, that's the kind of quality research we do on the show, Billy. That's I looked on the internet several minutes ago. That's the kind of prep I put in.
You know what? It even confused me. I think there have been 1 or 2 times when I looked up my IMDb, and I was like, I don't remember doing that show, and I had to really think about it and realize that, no, I could not have done that show. I was not born in 1940, whatever. But, yeah, so I had to – when I first came to Hollywood, I was actually called myself William Campbell, and I had to change my name because William was already with the DGA, or the SAG as William Campbell.
Wow, yeah.
So you can't trust IMDb all the time.
No, you certainly can't. I also did not do, what was it, Delta Force, I think they had me there. It's Delta Force.
But you did play somebody about as far removed from the world of Cliff Secord as I can imagine. That was Ted Bundy in Stranger Beside Me.
Yes, that's right.
And that was pretty trippy. I had the chance to meet Ann Rule just once. I was in law enforcement a couple of lifetimes ago and had a chance to chat with her about that. And that was a pretty powerful story. And so that must have been a strange character to try to step into, to say the very, very least.
It was really interesting. It was, I'm not one of these, what do you call, methody, kind of people, but I also do understand that, if you have to do something and be a certain way, it helps to, maybe pretend a little bit in your off time. And, but there's no way I was going to, pretend, in any part of me that I was that way. So it was interesting to, the most interesting thing about it was to have many, many long conversations with Ann Rule on set and hear the whole story, sort of firsthand. An amazing story.
Yeah, absolutely unbelievable for somebody to be in that position where she was already established as a writer of true crime stories and things, and then, that perfect title, A Stranger Beside Me, just absolutely chilling. Speaking again about your career, or what the internet claims is your career, I do remember being very excited to see you when you appeared on stuff like the 4400. And then later Helix. And am I remembering correctly that you were on Eureka?
I was on Eureka. I did an episode of Eureka. My buddy Colin Ferguson, of course, was the lead in Eureka. Right. And I had done a sci-fi pilot in Vancouver called Revolution, I think it was called. It never got picked up. One of the reasons it did not get picked up is because of Colin's show, which was also on Sci-Fi, and they didn't want 2 shows that were sort of about family or whatever, even though they were sci-fi. And so my show did not get picked up because of Colin. So I picked up the phone and called Colin, and I said, "Thanks a lot, buddy. I missed out on a job here in Vancouver." And he was really contrite, and he said, do you want to do an episode? I said, I'd love to do an episode. And he said, I'll call you back in 10 minutes. So he called the producers and made it happen. But even before I did that episode, I actually went over there and just as on a lark, I was an extra one day and just hung around in the background. So,
no kidding.
Yeah, it was good fun.
Wow.
I got to have lunch with Colin, so it was good.
Well, and your career is continuing on, fortunately, and doing doing more shows. My wife and I were up in Halifax, Nova Scotia last year, and I had turned on the hotel TV, and all of a sudden this show comes on, and this beautiful, very odd and absorbing title sequence comes up, and it says Billy Campbell. I said, we can't go anywhere for the next hour. I've got to watch the show. And that's how I discovered your show in Canada, Cardinal, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
oh,
just
thank you.
it's such an enormous palette of things going on. Hopefully it'll come to American audiences soon, because it's just fantastic. The acting, the cinematography is excellent. It's a show about Northern Ontario and murder in a small town, basically. And it's very Canadian. It doesn't, I mean, a lot of Canadian shows try to be, kind of generic North America, but this really, it focuses a lot on Canadian culture and how things work. And you're perfect in it.
Oh, thank you. It's a distinctly and definitively Canadian show, and I've been living. I had been living in Canada quite a bit. I got my permanent residency so that I could work up there more often, which was paying off. And then of course I got a Norwegian wife and kids, so I moved to Scandinavia. Wow. But the show is really one of the best things I think I've ever been involved with, and I love it. I love it. It will be coming to the States. I'm not at liberty to say exactly yet with whom, but I've just heard the news that it will be, and stay tuned. When I get permission to tell people when and where, I will definitely tell them. In fact, I might tell you guys, and you can tell them or something.
That's fantastic. Now, what season are you up to now? Because I've only seen season 1. I don't know, is this 2 or 3 coming up, or?
It's number 2 coming up. The series is from a series of novels. There are 6 novels. We're skipping the second novel. I'm just about to go to Canada, back to Ontario, to start shooting the 3rd book, which will be our second series of 6 episodes. And then I'll have a 5 or 6 week break back to Scandinavia, and then I'll go back in September again to Ontario and shoot season 3, which is more or less book 4. And it's fantastic.
I read that the show was just picked up by BBC4 as well, so
yes, that's right.
Be airing in the UK. That's wonderful news. Congratulations on that, and then it's been renewed. Yeah. That's terrific.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now I just forgot my question. Oh, okay. Well, we're going to talk about more of these things. Thank you for coming back in the future. And so this will be.
My pleasure.
We're going to be randomly dropping you in at different points. So people will have to tune in every day to check
every day to see if you're there or not.
It's not Billy. Let me go back next week. No, we'll have.
Jim, before we wrap it up, Billy, do you mind one more quick question? Well, maybe one and a half quick questions.
Yep.
And that is number one. Do you know anything at all about this? About the sort of Rocketeer reboot sequel thing that's been quietly in the works? And or if you do know anything, can you tell us?
I can tell you everything I know, because no one has told me anything official. Okay. So everything I've heard is sort of been kind of a rumor. But yes, I heard about a Rocketeer reboot. I heard that it takes place 6 years after the original film. Somebody suggested that there might be at least a cameo performance for me. I don't know if that's the case. I would be surprised if there wasn't something. It seems like you would just kind of emotionally, you would want to touch base with the first film.
Absolutely.
And that's about all I know. I think that's about all I know. But I haven't heard anything official from anyone. Nobody has called me to ask me anything or tell me anything, and so that's part of the reason that I just I can't think of it as a real thing until I would love to have anything to do with a reboot, provided that it's respectful to sort of what Dave created.
Yeah, that world that he was at. I mean, it would be nice if you were on like top of a rocky crag and a young Rocketeer came up to you and handed you the X3,
the helmet maybe, or the rocket pack. Here you go. And you don't say anything, but you just turn, look toward the camera.
Yeah.
We know you can grow a beard, so you're halfway there.
Yeah. Well, I think I was somebody was asking me about this the other day, and I said, yeah, sure, I'd be happy to do it. I'd say it's supposed to be 6 years later, and it's actually been 30, so they would have to, erase a wrinkle or two, maybe some nose hair, ear hair, but if they can make Chris, what's his name, Chris Ryan, not Chris Ryan from Captain America,
Chris Evans. If they can make him more bulky, yeah.
If they can make Chris Evans a 90-pound weakling, I'm pretty sure they can erase some wrinkles. So I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. Fingers crossed, but we'll find. And it could happen before this show is over. So we'll keep tuning back.
See what happens.
But Billy, thanks for this particular session, and we will have you back on in the future with lots more excitement.
It's my pleasure, boys, and it's really a lot of fun. I'm as I say, it's one of the sort of fondest memories of my entire life, and so to rehash it and at the same time learn so much about it is really it's kind of a gift. So I thank you.
Well, thanks again, and tell your friends, please.
I will.
We appreciate it very much.
I'll tweet the heck out of it, but I have to tell you, I'm a bit of a Luddite, and I this whole social media thing is kind of a what's the word? I have a love-hate thing with it, and as a consequence, I have very few followers. So my tweeting will be kind of like tinkling in the wind, probably.
every little bit helps, but we do appreciate it very much.
Yeah.
For folks out there on the social media that are looking for stuff all over the internet about the Rocketeer Minute, you can catch us on Twitter at Rocketeer Minute. You can find us on Facebook at the Rocketeers Bulldog Cafe. Everybody gets together and chats about these things. They're probably all screaming right now, but Billy Campbell's on today's episode. So,
I'm going to go check that out.
Oh yeah,
or somebody who sounds a lot like him.
Yeah, and so if you're out there on the social media, Billy might be seeing what you're saying. So say nice things.
Nice.
But you can also
don't ask about the rookies, whatever you
please.
do.
Yes.
My mistake.
Or Delta Force.
We haven't even gotten into whether Bruce Campbell is really your cousin or not, but we're gonna.
No, he's not.
Okay. There's another one. There's another nugget right here at the end. See?
But he's a very funny guy, and we did a movie together once. And he was doing an interview, and somebody asked him the same question, and he said, "No, I'm the Campbell that can act."
Wow. That's a very Bruce Campbell thing to say.
Yes, it is. It's completely, totally in character. So
awesome! Wow. Well, check us out at the big site too, RocketeerMinute.com. You can order stuff from Amazon, and that'll help Billy get residual checks so that they're selling more copies of that, and maybe they'll make Rocketeer Part 2, please God. So go out there and check all that stuff out, RocketeerMinute.com. And of course, as always, you only have to do this one time. Just go to iTunes or go to Google Play, search for Rocketeer Minute, click the subscribe button. You get this wonderful, wonderful podcast every single day, Monday through Friday, delivered hot and fresh to your little mobile device, so you can listen to it on your treadmill or out in your car or on your walk or whatever, wherever you're doing.
And please leave reviews.
Yes, reviews always help, so please do that. But we will continue. Who knows? We'll be here next week. We got Billy Campbell. I don't know who's coming next week, but we're gonna find out. So y'all have a great weekend. Come back here bright and early on Monday, and we'll have another episode of the Rocketeer Minute. So until next time, over and out.
Thanks, boys. Go get him, kid.